Hello, hello. So I was out on the shores of Lake Superior exploring and just looking for ice caves. They're really, there's not as many this year compared to years in the past. So I hope it doesn't become a regular thing. I'm hoping that as we progress here and kind of get into the next year, that we're blessed with some of those nicer ice caves that I've seen in the past. So just to kind of go in here, I'm going to choose probably one of these ones, either this set or maybe this one here. Probably this one will probably look the best, yeah. So I'm thinking going with that one. My other option here is this one, but I think it's going to have a really hard time distorting and lining those up. So this is going to be a little bit different here, where I come in and I'm going to actually rely on, I'll just show you here. So I'm just going to jump into Photoshop. And I go to photomerge. Actually, sorry, I'm going to do my regular here. I'm going to load this into Camera Raw first. That was just my edit for the last video. So I'm just going to go in and do my regular profile correction for lens. Mouse is jumping around. My hand will sometimes touch the trackpad, and it can be quite annoying, but okay. And probably just maybe bumping up my shadows just a little bit here on this shot. I don't think I need to worry about my highlights at all, which is perfect. I'm just gonna hit done. Now, something that's different that I'm gonna do this time that I haven't done in the past, and I do rely on it, is when I get into photomerge, instead of going to reposition, I'm going to let it distort the image. And one of the main reasons is because I have lots of vertical lines. So those lines need to line up. And if I just do reposition, you'll see these kind of like angle changes that end up happening within the image. That the icicles won't line up all nice. So it does mean that I'm going to have to come in and do some other distortion once it merges everything in Photoshop. That is if it can align it. So I haven't done this yet for this image. So I am relying on the fact here that it is going to be able to align them. So I'm hoping that it can align them. There's enough reference points there for it to align them all nice. So I'm hoping for that. And once it's done, if it does do a good job at aligning them, which I really hope it does, then I'll have to go into and warp the image. So I'll flatten this down to a single image or single layer, and then distort the edges to bring it back. So hopefully it works here for me. Just taking a minute. This was nice. It was. It just seems like every time I go out this year, it's been like this, where I go out and it's blue skies, and then by the time the sunset comes, it's all clouded over, which it does seem to be kind of a regular thing recently. But something that's different this time than in the past is there's actually caves with a floor that I can go and walk in. In the past, this floor hasn't been frozen yet, so you haven't been able to kind of go down and get in these caves. So it lined it up all good. I'm not seeing any issues here with alignment. You can see all those icicles line up. There's some distortion here, but we're gonna go in and correct that. And try to just bring back some of this image, some of the details, I guess, and kind of correct some of the distortion that it applied. And that's one of the main difference between allowing it to go auto, where it actually adds in distortion to line things up. If I didn't let it go auto, these vertical icicles, as they're hanging down, they wouldn't have all lined up together within the image. So I'm just going to go merge layers. I'm not going to create another one here. I'm just going to go merge, then I'm going to go to edit and transform, and I'm just going to go with a regular warp tool for this one. So this one here is the corners. You can grab corners and pull those corners and distort them, which is not really what I need to do. Maybe pushing them in a little bit. What I need to do here is grab these top anchor handles and just pull them down. Basically what I want to do is I want to flatten out the top here. So I'm going to pull this and stretch it over and push it over. I don't mind there being distortion up here, but as long as things are lining up, and that was the issue with the original image, is that, or sorry, with not going with auto is just having those icicles line up themselves. So again, I don't mind, this distortion here, as long as those icicles are intact. So basically, I'm trying to get this back to square. I'm trying to stretch out these corners and try to get this back to an image that's a little bit more square. So when I do crop it, I'm not losing a lot of the image. You can see here might be an issue. I could clone in, like if I crop this and I find this set of icicles is too close to the edge, then I could add a little bit of that kind of back into the image. But I think somewhere in this range should be about good. Pull these out just a tiny little bit. Yeah, so somewhere about there. And again, I'll probably end up cloning or healing, maybe even using the patch tool to kind of fix up some of those areas, but we'll see. So I'm just going to finish this off. Just going to have a second here. It's a decent size image here, roughly 30 by 30, 25 by 25, probably when I'm done the crop here. So pull this down, probably about there. Yeah, I'm probably gonna clone in a little bit on this edge here. Yeah, I'm just wondering if I want that cave to be direct center. So if I do, no, because I'd have to crop it into about here. Actually, that wouldn't be too bad either. Yeah, I'm going to keep that center. So I'm going to commit to cropping out some of these edges. And again, this was shot with a 15mm lens on a full frame camera. So you can see, if I would have just shot this image without the pano, the stacking, the vertical pano, I'd be limited on what I have here. I'd probably have this small window kind of within here. I'd be missing out on the top of this image. I probably could crop a little bit of the bottom out here. It's not quite as necessary within the image, but let's try something maybe like that. So I do have a little bit of cloning here to do. I'm going to do that first this time. Just get in here and just add in some extra little space there. And while I'm cloning here, before I merge this down to the original, I'm just going to clean up any little spots. I think the rest of it looks pretty good. I don't have any dirt or anything on my lens, any lens spots to clean up, which is pretty good. Yep, I think I'm going to go with that. So I don't think I'm going to do too much to this image. I'm going to jump into camera raw first, merge visible. I'm just going to make a copy of this to then jump into camera raw. I am going to want to tweak the contrast a little bit within this one. So it probably dehaze by itself will be enough. And then I might add a little bit of vignette to the corners, maybe just a little bit kind of within this image. But this dehaze should add a lot of that contrast for me, which then in turns might mean that I need to brighten up my shadows just a bit more. Maybe add a little bit of contrast. See those blues really starting to pop out. I might need to tone those blues down a little bit. I'm keeping an eye on my histogram to kind of see what the overall exposure looks like. But again, I don't have any pure blacks, and I think I'm lacking on those whites, so I might need to push up my exposure just a tiny bit. A little bit of clarity, just a bit of texture. And I don't think I'm going to do too much to this image. I think most of it's just going to be just a regular edit. It's really short video compared to some of my other ones, where I don't have a lot of, I'm not going to go in and do any kind of crazy editing. The longest thing here is just merging those images together. So I might come in and do an overall curves here just to darken, and then fill that with black to hide it all, and then go in with my brush, big soft brush, 20% or so for my opacity, and maybe darken some of those corners. I'm going to change my opacity to 10. 20% was a little bit too much, and just a little bit, just to focus a little bit more attention towards the opening of the image, or the cave itself. And then I think it did get a little bit too dark, but I know that I'm going to come in and do an overall brighten. And then again, some curves contrast to kind of finalize that. Maybe somewhere in that range. Again, it's not looking too bad. I've been kind of debating maybe taking some of those blues out, but I don't mind them. Let's see what it looks like if I just go to hue saturation here and maybe just pull a little bit of the saturation out. Actually don't mind that. Maybe just a tiny little bit, maybe -5 or something. Yep. So that's not too bad. I'm just going to switch my workspace back over to photo, just so I can see that histogram. The histogram's up there for me. And I don't think I need to run too much. Well, maybe I'll run a small standard noise reduction on this. So I'm going to go back to this layer, and I'm just seeing a few little spots here that I might want to clean out. And one of the main reasons why I clean them up is just if I do print this, I just don't want it to look like there's any little spots on the image. Actually, there's quite a bit of them. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and get the bigger ones. Actually, I can't see them anymore. Maybe one here. Oh, there's one here too. I don't think it's too bad though. I think the rest of it looks pretty good. Yeah. Perfect. I don't know how I feel about the brightness of this. Let's see what this is. It's almost like it added some purple up here in that corner. I'm just going to go back to black here and just erase some of it. Sorry, I'm a little quiet. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to see here, what I want it to do. Actually, kind of like that little bit of contrast, but maybe not quite that much in some of those spots. I think I might run a color layer here. I'm not like, there's a little bit of magenta that's showing up across here. Actually, there seems to be a little bit of green in here. So what I might do is just create a color layer and just select some of these regular blues, 10%, and just remove a little bit of those odd colors that I'm seeing in those areas. Still, my histogram looks good. Maybe it's just the brightness of my brightness of my monitor's turned up, but it just feels a little bit dark. I do like the contrast that's going on there, but it does feel a little bit dark on me. I wonder about brightening all my midtones. Yeah, I'm going to lose that contrast if I do that. Just wondering about maybe just doing a little bit in some selective areas here, 20% or so. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. So that was my original, and then that's, again, you can see I'm just focusing a little bit more attention here and adding some contrast. Whenever you add contrast, the saturation does increase on the images. You can see that here, there's a little bit of saturation increase, and then you can really see it here in these curve layers, especially this curve layer. You can really see the saturation jump. And it's one of the reasons why I take a little bit of that saturation out. I might take a little bit more out. Let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, maybe in that range. Something like that. That's that little bit of color at the top. You can see that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a little bit of magenta across here that I didn't like. And then just a little bit brighter in that center point there. Yep, I think that would be it. So there's the original photo merged, and then there's the final. So I'm liking it, liking the way it looks. Ideally, I probably would have wanted this to be a little bit more square. but I don't mind the way it looks. So yeah, so we'll keep it at that. Again, a little bit of a shorter one. I don't think I'm just going to keep this in the photo basics. I don't think I'm going to throw it in the, sorry, just the regular edits, not the basic stuff. But again, it's just a different way of using photomerge than what I have been doing. So again, it's a kind of a little bit different, but and it's a little bit different when you're dealing with daytime stuff where I'm not kind of like really getting heavy into my edits. Just some contrast with curves, and contrast is usually selective. So that's what these layer masks are for, just kind of building up some selective adjustments in some of those areas. Yeah, so I might do another one here of a different cave image and maybe just compare the two of them. But yeah, if you like the video, just to make sure you like and subscribe. Throw a comment in to see if you have ever experienced these ice caves before, because they're pretty cool. And or if you like the editing technique, or if you want to, feel free to add any techniques that you might use. Feel free to add those in the comments as well. Okay,